The man who works alone is unbeatable can be a powerful truth, but only when it is earned through action, not used as a costume for avoidance. Solitude can sharpen a man when he uses it to train, build, study, think, and remove the noise that keeps him weak. Isolation can become a forge when it has a mission inside it. Yet the same phrase becomes pathetic when a man says it because he refuses feedback, refuses correction, refuses accountability, refuses competition, refuses discomfort, and refuses to place his work where reality can judge it. Alone does not automatically mean strong. Alone can mean focused, or it can mean hiding. The difference is evidence. If your solitude produces output, discipline, strength, skill, money, big clarity, and a harder standard, then it is a weapon. If it only produces fantasy, resentment, overthinking, excuses, and the feeling that nobody understands your greatness, then you are not working alone. You are decaying alone. A serious man must learn the difference between chosen solitude and defensive isolation. Chosen solitude is clean. It says, "I need silence because the work requires my full attention." Defensive isolation says, "I will stay away from anything that exposes how little I have built." Chosen solitude has a schedule, a task, a measurable result, and a reason. Defensive isolation has vague plans, emotional explanations, and a private identity built around being misunderstood. One creates power, the other creates delusion. A man working alone in the right way becomes less dependent on applause because he has proof in his hands. The body changes, the pages stack, the savings increase, the skill sharpens, the product improves, the mind steadies. A man hiding alone becomes more sensitive, more resentful, more allergic to criticism, because there is no real evidence strong enough to protect him from the truth. Solitude magnifies whatever you bring into it. Bring discipline, and it becomes a forge. Bring avoidance, and it becomes a grave. There is a reason people romanticize the lone wolf. It sounds clean, it sounds powerful. It removes the embarrassment of needing anyone, learning from anyone, being corrected by anyone, or standing beside people who may be better. The phrase can make weakness feel heroic. A man who cannot collaborate says he is independent. A man who cannot handle feedback says he is misunderstood. A man who cannot tolerate competition says he prefers his own path. A man who has not earned mastery calls himself different, because different feels better than behind. That is the danger. Language can protect the ego from reality for years. The lone wolf image should never become a place to hide from growth. If you work alone, the work must speak louder than the myth. If you claim independence, your results must show independence. Otherwise, the phrase is not strength. It is theater performed for an audience of one. The men who actually rise are often alone in certain hours, but rarely alone in every sense. They may train alone, write alone, build alone, study alone, and endure private seasons where no one claps. Yet they still learn from reality, study competitors, measure themselves honestly, listen to useful criticism, watch what works, and improve through contact with the world. A fighter may run alone before dawn, but he still needs sparring. A writer may work alone at the desk, but the page eventually faces readers. A businessman may build in silence, but the market will judge him without mercy. A body can be trained in private, but the mirror, the weight, the clock, and the performance do not lie. The unbeatable man is not unbeatable because nobody reaches him. He becomes hard to defeat because solitude made him sharper. Then reality tested that sharpness and forced him to improve. A man building from nothing cannot worship balance too early. Balance belongs to a system that already functions. When the body is already strong, occasional looseness may not destroy it. When the business already works, a slower week may not collapse it. Once discipline is proven, pleasure can be handled without becoming king. Before that stage, balance often becomes a gentle word for staying the same. The beginning requires imbalance because the old life already has momentum. Comfort has momentum. Distraction has momentum. Bad habits have momentum. Weak friends, weak evenings, weak sleep, weak food, weak focus. All of it has been trained for years. A new future cannot compete with that using polite effort. Something must become extreme enough to interrupt the pattern. Not stupid, not reckless, extreme in priority, extreme in protection, extreme in consistency, extreme in refusing the old self-entry. When a man says he wants to build something serious while still protecting every comfort, he has not understood the price. A new body asks for different food, different training, different sleep, and different boredom tolerance. A new income asks for skill, courage, offers, rejection, discipline with money, and less time wasted on shallow entertainment. A serious craft asks for hours nobody sees, ugly first attempts, repeated correction, and the humility to stay with the basics after the excitement dies. If you are starting from the ground, moderation usually keeps you close to the ground. The early phase is not about appearing balanced to others. It is about generating enough force to break the gravity of the old life. People will call this too much because they are measuring your effort against their own comfort. Let them. A man who builds from scratch cannot borrow standards from people satisfied with staying where they are.
Violent imbalance does not mean destroying your health, becoming chaotic, neglecting every responsibility, or pretending exhaustion is proof of greatness. That kind of stupidity burns men out and calls the ashes discipline. The correct imbalance is directed. You decide what deserves the best of your energy. Then you make the rest of life serve that decision. The body may become the mission for a season, so food, sleep, training, and walking receive priority. Money may become the mission, so spending, learning, selling, building, and tracking become law. A craft may become the mission, so mornings, nights, weekends, attention and silence begin bending around output. The imbalance is not random suffering. It is concentrated construction. You are not trying to look intense. You are moving resources away from weakness and into the one thing that must finally rise. The phrase "almost made it" should feel like a knife under the ribs. It means the man had enough desire to start, enough intelligence to understand the path, enough energy to make progress, maybe even enough talent to threaten the world, yet he never became severe enough to finish.